Listen up. Hello, sports bettors. Welcome back to the Dimer Sports Betting Podcast. It's Greg, it's Dave, and it is the NFL playoffs. We've got a ton to look forward to. Again, we'll take a look back at everything we learned from the wild card weekend. We will look ahead to the matchups that are next up in the NFL. There's plenty more that we'll get to on today's show as well, including college basketball. The PGA Tour is back with Brooks Koepka in the fold soon, and NBA King of the Court tonight. Dave, there's a lot going on, my friend. How are you?
There is a lot going on. I'm great. It's a packed part of the sports schedule. Football's winding down, but then everything else comes up at you all at once, and we're packed. I mean, I had to trim some things out of this show so we don't go over. I could probably do a whole show about each one of these segments. So there's a lot to get through. Looking forward to it piece by piece on this show.
The quote-unquote chaotic NFL season that was lived up to its billing in the first round of the playoffs. There were so many games that came down to one final possession, and I think we have more drama in store. We'll go through it all. We'll give you some takeaways, but first, let's look back at some things that you should have bet if you listened to the show last week.
Should have bet that.
Model continues rolling on for us. A 2-1 week last week. What'd you see?
Yeah, both the featured moneyline picks from the best bets come through. If you guys listened to the show and you recall, if you didn't listen to the show and you're listening to it now for the first time, we went game by game. And then at the end of all that, just put up the best overall model picks of the weekend. That was Texans and Bills moneyline. And then the model had value in the under on Bears Packers, which I think both of us were personally on the other side of that. But alongside that, we try to talk you through each bet. Some of our personal leans cashed as well. The under in Texans Steelers, though, the defense trying to do everything possible to sell that at the end of the game. Bears covered as dogs, won outright. 49ers covered as dogs, won outright. So we tried to lead you to at least some profitable angles, even if the model didn't have value there. Also, CMC cashed his 2 TD prop at plus 500. We highlighted 3 guys with 2 touchdown value over the weekend. We played them as a little single anytime TD parlay. No luck with Josh Jacobs and Jalen Warren on that, but each one of them had value as a straight bet for 2+ TDs. Reminder, that is how the model finds all the value. It's all about making straights and profiting long-term there. What we do beyond that is up to us, sometimes our crazy brains, but if you follow the model pretty well, you had some nice profitable plays over the wild card weekend.
Absolutely. Yeah, I feel like quite a few of our talking points when we went really in depth last week ended up coming to fruition in some form. And reminder, if you want all these insights in real time for yourself, Dimers Pro is what you need. Get 50% off of Dimers Pro. Use promo code podcast. Make sure you capitalize before the end of the NFL season. Okay, there was plenty to enjoy as just a viewer or a sports bettor from the wild card weekend. Let's go through some takeaways next.
The week that was.
Your biggest takeaway from wild card weekend, Dave?
The weekend itself, it was so good. I can't pick like a singular thing. I could go so long on any of these key points. I feel like that I was, taking away, putting in my notes, watching the games, but just great wild card weekend, maybe the best in the 14-team expansion. Plenty of offense early on, some nice defensive showdowns late, even if the lack of offense in a couple of those games was a little rough to watch. But it's nitty-gritty playoff football in the postseason, and that stuff is really good sometimes when you get those defensive-minded games. Just like the teams least likely to advance all played really well, at least for the most part. The Panthers took the Rams all the way down to the end. The Steelers were in that game all the way till the end, making things difficult for CJ Stroud and the Texans. Solid showing by Bryce Young. Kid might actually have a future in this league after looking like he might wash out after his first couple seasons. Awesome quarterback duel in what I hope down the line will be a AFC Championship preview that we'll get with Trevor Lawrence and Josh Allen. That was a really good game. Unfortunately, ending with like a miserable tipped pick 2 at that. Just first play, just over, which is tough. Sunk the over in that game as well if you were on that. But overall, some really great games, setting up some great matchups in the divisional round. And probably a great playoffs for the public, right? No Mahomes in this at all. Now Jalen Hurts and the Eagles are out. No Aaron Rodgers. I'd say some of the least popular fan bases and maybe villains of the league are no longer in it. A lot of young faces. 7 of these 8 quarterbacks left have never won a Super Bowl. So I think maybe only Stafford's even been to one, if I'm thinking really quickly off the top of my head. But yeah, should be some really good stuff coming our way.
Yeah, I don't know what else you could have asked for. I mean, other than Aaron Rodgers being mobile for the first time in 7 years, that would have been nice for a capper to the weekend. But seriously, I feel like the overlay of the league as a whole this entire season was it could be anyone's game anytime. And I think that played itself true in basically 6 of the 7 games we watched this weekend. Like you could have flipped literally every single result and none of us would have even batted an eye. Like it would have felt like that team deserved the win. I think the game I enjoyed the most is going to be my biggest takeaway on the NFC side of things. How do the Bears keep doing this? I mean, I swear I'm just getting full-blown Team of Destiny vibes. And, it feels like I think that was the 7th or 8th comeback win of the year. But they're just pushing the boundaries of how on the ropes can they get in any given game. It feels like they literally will go an entire first half without a singular stop. And then the defense just forces 3 and outs every possession in the second half. I don't know if it's great coaching or offensive ineptitude or luck or all 3. But at this point, it's happened so consistently in the latter half of this season, you just start to get that feeling. And I think when you're lined up against Chicago, especially in Chicago, and you're up 17 and all of a sudden Caleb Williams leads a touchdown drive, you start to feel a little tingle in your throat. You don't know what's coming next. So I really believe Ben Johnson's a great coach. You can feel however you want to feel about his handshake with Matt LaFleur at the end of that game. But I know this, he's restored life to that entire city from a football belief standpoint. And I wish it wasn't my former quarterback, Matt Stafford, standing in his way in the next round. But in a season where, again, we're saying it's anyone's game, what better time to be the team of destiny than now? I mean, at this point, they could do anything, and I would believe it.
Yeah, seems like the defense just gets themselves into the position they feel most comfortable, and that is trailing and needing to basically stop every single drive. I mean, that looked early on like it was okay. Maybe we were hyping up the Bears a little too much too early, crowning them a little too much with the way that game was going. And then they just did what they do best, come back late in games, pretty much exactly how we called it. They were like, they're going to give up points. They're going to score a lot of points and win this thing in the 4th. And they did. That handshake is hilarious to me, man. These guys are so amped up. These are big moments. Like, look, Matt LaFleur has had, some playoff success before, so it's his turn to be on the receiving end of that. And the still of Ben Johnson just coming up with his mouth like wide open, so stoked. And then he fell over. You saw that clip, like running. I mean, that's just fun. He's having a great time, and you can get all twisted up about that if that is what you want to plant your flag on after the playoffs. But it was awesome.
Yeah. I mean, just as someone who just wants drama and entertainment, I feel like that's as good as it gets, that Bears-Packers game. So hopefully Bears-Rams can deliver just as much. And I don't think any of us will be surprised to see Josh Allen continue his run through the AFC. We'll have more on that. Maybe that's a good segue, honestly, into our Super Bowl futures update. The model has a new favorite, and it is the aforementioned Josh Allen-led Buffalo Bills.
Yeah, can't say I'm totally shocked here. They were a value play last week's show, 10.8% plus 1,000. They are now the Dimers model favorite, plus 650, 18.6% probability. That's an edge with our fair odds at plus 440, which is right where the Seahawks and Rams were sitting last week. So they're, you could see how they've moved up. You could see exactly where the model is placing them in the hierarchy of the teams that are left. Feels maybe like it was a little too obvious, the first playoffs that Josh Allen is in without Patrick Mahomes, the hump that he couldn't get over. It's the perfect opportunity for him to get that elusive Super Bowl win. I mean, even to reach there, as we know, that's already been an obstacle. Still got to win 2 more to get there. But, he took over that game. We saw the same stuff from him that made him an MVP a year ago that would have made him an MVP candidate this year, had a couple games gone differently, or they win the division. Frankly, I mean, this might be the last chance to get the Bills at what you would consider a solid price. They're already road favorites in Denver. We'll talk about that in a bit. That game could get a little interesting the way that line moves between now and Saturday. But you do have to kind of wonder if Josh Allen's enough. He did everything he could in that game. It did end up being enough. Maybe they got a break, though, that Trevor Lawrence did throw that pick, because you probably think they're at least getting down there and kicking the field goal and forcing OT in that game, if not anything else. But just like the offense there's some concerns there. There's really no one in that passing game you're scared about. Khalil Shakir is really solid, but probably a wide receiver too on most teams. Caught 12 of 12 targets versus Jacksonville, a whopping 82 yards. Not a very efficient passing game for someone who was getting that kind of volume. Brandon Cooks is now basically the wide receiver 2 in this offense, tied 2 other pass catchers with 3 receptions. So you're going to need to see more. Players are going to have to step up outside of Josh Allen. While he may rush and pass for touchdowns, he cannot also catch all of the TDs, and they are going to need some help, I think, especially against a really good Broncos defense. We'll talk about that game in depth in a little bit, but it's definitely looking like the Bills, maybe not the team to beat, but the model's high on them. It's giving them a lot more love even than it was last week.
Yeah, we kind of called it out last week. Just there's definitely a world at the end of this with all this parity this year that we look back and say, how did we not see Josh Allen coming? The only thing standing in his way was Patrick Mahomes and, the gauntlet that was even with Lamar Jackson in the playoffs in recent years. And suddenly you look up and it's a bunch of quarterbacks that haven't really been there before, and Josh Allen's going to make the plays when needed. He made them last week. I mean, I thought Jacksonville was arguably the better side pretty clearly in that game, and Josh Allen stepped up in the clutch and made the plays, and then his defense tipped the ball. We'll see. It's going to be a totally different test against Denver. And I think, this speaks to where we're at. While the Bills are the favorite, and that's not a surprise to me whatsoever now, this is still, there's 3 teams right up there between 16 and 18% probability here. I think when we get closer later this week into like a full Bills-Broncos preview, the most likely Super Bowl champion right now is a team that is not even exactly showing a huge edge to win their next game. So, you've got to be smart. It's all about value when you're betting futures. And we'll be honest too, at this point in the bracket, you're probably not going to get the value you would have gotten a week ago backing any of these believers. But I think seeing the Bills right now at 6.5 to 1 is the best price, over double what you're getting either the Rams or the Seahawks are. That's not anything. I don't know. It doesn't feel right to me, given that they have the best quarterback left in the playoffs. I stand with the model that the Bills are a little underpriced right now.
Yeah, sometimes you just got to overcome those little obstacles game to game. It's not always the most likely or the best fit team, and sometimes the luck and the situational football comes into play down the line. But yeah, outside the Bills, you got the Rams, Seahawks, like you said, all within 2% of that. Texans, a little bit of a value play here, I think. 11.2%, plus 850. That'd be fair, about plus 790. And then you got the Broncos, who we had at the same probability as the Bills just last week, at 9.4% and plus 850. Fair at plus 960. Granted, this is going to differ slightly from our money line probabilities, which we have Bills versus Broncos in the game, as this is a futures model, works a little differently. So while we may see something a little different when we look at that game, you got to look big picture, factor in all the possible opponents and the paths, and thus the model gives the Bills the most favorable opportunity. Bears, that team of destiny, 7.1% is the lowest here, but you're getting a little bit of value here, plus 1,600. That's pretty great odds in the second round of the playoffs. Obviously, if they get through, they'll probably be no longer than 800 or so, faced up against whoever wins Niners, Seahawks, that is. But I did play a little Bills Bears matchup just before that round got started. So we'll see what happens there. The model's favorite and least likely now. So
Yeah, there you go. Oh, why not? Just the perfect sandwich bet, you could say. I
Yeah.
like it. Yeah, it's interesting looking at this full landscape. I think I would be wanting to jump in and invest on the Bears, given the whole destiny angle I'm
Hmm.
pitching here, if they didn't have Los Angeles awaiting them. I think if they fall 3 scores behind Matt Stafford and Puka Nacua, you can kiss this goodnight. They're going to have to completely flip the script on how their last month of games have gone in order to win that ball game. Maybe they get a blizzard game. I don't know. There are plenty of ways to emerge victorious here, but I think even despite my pitch that I can't believe what they're doing right now, I'm going to be expecting a Bears loss finally this upcoming week. We shall see. But reminder, Dimers Pro is what you need. All of this if you want our futures models updates in real time. Again, we're refreshing this daily at this point. You can see minute by minute changes as new prices come through. Get Dimers Pro, promo code podcast. Get yourself 50% off as a first-time purchaser of Dimers Pro. We do this show twice a week, every Tuesday and Thursday. And not to get ahead of ourselves too much, we will do a really in-depth preview of each game in the divisional round on Thursday. But for now, I do think we should just survey the land a little bit for some early value during the divisional round.
The early edge.
Yep, well said, Greg. We'll hit on all of our favorite angles. We'll look at the touchdowns. We'll look at the props. We'll look at the positional matchups. We'll probably have a little bit more clarity on a couple injuries reports as we get a little closer. Reminder, there are 2 games on Saturday, 2 on Sunday. But yeah, for now, we'll just take a quick look at each one, look at where the model's probabilities are sitting, and offer some of our thoughts based on our takeaways from the wild card round, some of which you've already discussed. I'll pull them up here. We'll just go game by game, starting with Bills-Broncos. I believe this opened very early. Broncos were favored. Couldn't quite find all the line movement, but it's now Bills -1.5. And you should make sure you're checking the line because there are places where it is the other way around. While the model is currently favoring the Broncos, 56% probability on the money line, you're getting identical odds, and you can find the Broncos as -1.5 favorites, depending where you look. And you're getting about even money for them to cover that -1.5. So if you are on their side, you're getting a little bit better as far as edge on the spread. I could not see the Bills at even money to cover -1.5, but you could get that on the Broncos. So worth noting. As far as the spread, just 45% for the Bills to cover -1.5, 40 or 55% for the Broncos +1.5, and over under 46.5 is unsurprisingly split 50-50. We saw that a little bit with the totals in the wild card round. A lot of background factors working against the Bills here. While, I love what I saw from them, you've got to be pretty high on the vibes. We always talk about, though, you can't bet with vibes. You can use it to kind of guide you maybe if you're leaning one way or the other, but it's kind of tough to really buy into the Bills to face a team that is well rested, elite defense. The only rushing defense that was better than the Broncos was the Jaguars during the regular season. We talked about that angle last week. They completely shut James Cook down this past weekend. They could not restrain Josh Allen on the ground, but they were absolutely locked down as far as the rushing game. And if they can take James Cook out of this, looking at that really depleted Bills wide receiver group that has now lost Gabe Davis, who, for as minimal as his contributions were, guy with familiarity, field stretching ability, and a place in the Bills offense. So while I do, like I said, I have the Bills invested in the future with the Bears Super Bowl. I do really like them, but there's a lot working against them here. It's kind of tough to get behind. So personal feelings, I think if you like the Broncos, you probably got to get them now while they're still available as underdogs in some places, or at least on any book where you have them at pretty much a 50-50 money line split that could move in Denver's favor against the better as we get closer. Just, I don't know, just some of the injury stuff around the Bills, they feel incorrect as 2-point road favorites here against the number 1 seed. So just something to monitor, I guess, as we get closer. I think they're going to be out Jordan Poyer in this game. So their really good passing defense is taking a hit. Granted, the Broncos passing offense isn't like the most intimidating. Cortland Sutton's leading with 54 yards, and you got Pat Bryant with 37 receiving yards. So it's probably going to be a nitty-gritty ground game if they can manage to chip away at that pretty weak Bills rushing defense that, I didn't actually see how well Travis Etienne did, but he was pretty pivotal in that game. So
yeah. I feel like, saying as someone who has the Bills as my Super Bowl runner-up, I have them emerging out of the AFC. I feel like the correct line here would be what it opened at. I think the Broncos as a slight favorite. Broncos by 1, maybe even 2, no more than a field goal. I am not surprised the market is moving in favor of the Bills because I think the public is thinking a lot like I'm thinking. I want to back the better quarterback here. But given everything you just laid out, both matchup-wise and health-wise, it is hard, I think, to present the Bills as the better team on the road in Denver where they've been so difficult to play. So, look, this is really going to come down to personal preference, I think, from a betting standpoint. If you want to use the Dimers model one way or another, you have the data that the Bills are the best bet to win the Super Bowl. You also have the data that the Broncos are likely to win this game. Those are both simultaneously occurring on the site. And I think it makes sense when you think about it. If the Bills find a way to win this game, you're going to expect full steam ahead. And here we go. The run is on. If they don't, obviously their season comes to an end and we're looking at Denver very differently. But for me, I think the thing I can talk myself personally into and why I'm ultimately going to bet Buffalo, I wish I got it at plus money. I didn't. So I'm going to probably lay a point to a point and a half here. Is I think you just saw Justin Herbert as an example, a guy that has now had 3 playoff runs and just hasn't been up for it, right? Good talent, good regular season quarterback, kind of lights too bright. What's going on? He's under pressure. Who knows? I think the pitch here has to be that there's a chance that's what happens to Bo Nix. And Bo Nix had a reputation as a very erratic guy long before he got to Denver. I don't think anyone expected him to be the quarterback of the future in Denver. I don't know if Bo Nix even expected himself to be in a playoff game against Josh Allen this quickly on a team this good, quite frankly. And like you said, they don't have the most inspiring receiver room. I don't know that Denver's likely to make Buffalo's defense pay, really. If anything, I think I lean to the under in this game. Just I could see a world where Denver's really incompetent with an extra week of rust offensively. And I think if you are Buffalo, you probably want to control the time of play, time of possession in this game, maybe limit possessions to help your wounded defense just a little bit. So I'm leaning Bills. I'm leaning under. Those are personal plays, but not exactly surprised that the model has this essentially good value right now.
Yeah, definitely like the call out on the under. I mean, this game, let's see, the Bills-Jags went, I think, to 51 points. It was a 51.5 point total. You have a way less explosive offense in the Broncos than you do the Jaguars, and you're running into another very good defense. Are the Bills going to put up those kind of points again? Probably not. So, yeah, I definitely like that play. I think this is going to look a bit more like that Chargers, Patriots, Texans, Steelers game, just a little bit more gritty, a few more drives snuffed out. Early value on the Broncos per the model. All right, let's move to the NFC, first NFC matchup, which is going to be Niners, Seahawks here. Niners 7.5 point road dogs. Total is 45.5. We have the Niners at 54.2% to cover. It looks like +7. Hopefully they can still find 7.5 as you could this morning, because that is a huge part of which side of this I personally like to be on. Although granted, 7 still gets you the touchdown, but getting 7.5 outside that full touchdown is really nice. Plus a 54.6% probability to the under on 45.5. And then Niners money line, 25.1%. No edge here. You want plus 300 if you want fair odds. We're getting round 3, which is always nice. Another round 3 in the playoffs, which is always fun. Getting those divisional matchups kind of turning into the rubber game. This was a split season series in the regular season. And somehow defying the odds, injuries, pretty much everything. The Niners are 2 wins away from getting back to the Super Bowl after a drought. a couple year drought. It's hard to argue against a team that has overcome so much adversity like the 49ers this season, but it just continues to pile on. It's pretty nuts. I mean, besides Christian McCaffrey, Kittle feels like the one player they really couldn't afford to lose, even more so than Purdy, who has been really good and a key part of their late season run success. Kittle's just such a positive force on this team. He makes big dog plays, and I just feel like the looming, darkness really of him now being out the rest of the playoffs and most of, if not all of next season, in the second half of his career is just kind of hard to ignore. It's going to hang over them a bit like a rain cloud, but these are professionals that go out there and do their job and hopefully win without him. Model does find that value in them to cover 3% edge, which is pretty solid. You're getting, again, minus 105. We always talk about it's really nice to get on a spread instead of the minus 115, minus 112 or so. It's just going to be, I think, a matter rather of whether or not their offense can hang with the Seahawks. Defense did a pretty solid job versus the Eagles. Also pretty solid job in both games against the Seahawks this season. They were gifted several key drops in that game against Philly, though, that otherwise changed that game pretty easily. And I think we're looking at a different matchup here. Love the under alongside the model. Both good value, good probability, sweet spot signal. 46 total points combined in meetings between these two teams this year. 13-3 in week 18, 17-13 in week 1. Now the Niners are missing another great offensive weapon. I think you're going to see pretty much something that follows one of those two game scripts really closely, and it's going to be lower scoring. I think this might be the lowest scoring game of the weekend, even aside from Patriots-Texans. Familiarity of opponents. They're going to know how to stop each other. Probably going to see a lot of yards because I think they're going to go down the field, drive, and then you'll see them come to an end. But if I'm picking one bet in this game, the model has two value bets. It's the under for me in the early value look anyway.
Yeah, I totally agree with you on the under. I think I found my favorite game to bet of the week, and I'll probably elaborate in more detail on the Thursday episode, but I think this is mispriced. Catching a full touchdown with San Francisco. I mean, we played the final week of the regular season when, Trent Williams was out for San Francisco, and obviously that was an uninspiring showing. Your defense still held Seattle to 13 in that game. Like, I'm not saying that's guaranteed to be a duplicate here, but we're also talking about a San Francisco team that went to Seattle and beat this team this year. They split these matchups. Like, this is not some little underdog that could. This team punted twice in all of December. Kittle's important to them, but Tonjes is good. Like, when Kittle went down early in that Philadelphia game, Tonjes was open and making big plays. I think this is really mispriced, and I think there's going to be some rust with Seattle. I would make this closer to a field goal, if anything, and I think I would like San Francisco at a field goal. So I'm heavy on the Niners plus 7.5. I'm probably going to bet San Francisco on the money line in this game. I think they have a really good chance to win outright. And I don't know. They might be my sleeper Super Bowl pick right now, Dave.
Yeah, I mean, they are mine. I'm still clinging to that hope, that they get there, and they are a value play. If you don't have them yet, it's sometimes it's a little too easy to say, you take the longest odds teams to win the Super Bowl. It's probably where most of the value is going to be once you get past the first round, just by nature of the books shortening and the prices on everybody. And at some point, they're going to give you implied probabilities that don't even add up, or that will add up to over 100%. So you're not going to get, truly fair odds once you get past this round, and there's only 4 teams left. But I certainly think they're alive to keep this close. I think you're right. It's mispriced, and I love myself the under in this. So those are definitely going to be the angles I'm looking at in this game. And then just real quickly from a prop perspective, we'll get into this stuff a little later, but I just think early on, I would definitely check out what the rushing lines are like for the Seahawks. The Niners just gave up over 100 to Saquon. They allowed 97 and 74 rushing yards to Ken Walker and Zach Charbonnet in week 18. I think you're going to see a lot of rushing, especially as the Niners do what is like the no-brainer for them to do in this game and try and limit JSN big plays.
Love it. All right, next up is Texans and Pats. What'd you think of Drake May's playoff debut here? He got the win, but it was a little shaky to my eye, Dave.
A little shaky. I think it looked kind of like what we expected, or at least like talked about. You're like, they're going to finally play a really good team, one of the better defenses that they've played all season. Tons of sacks, like we talked about coming into this game or into that game. And it was, not the cleanest performance for them. And if not for just real dysfunction on the Chargers side, that at least gets a little closer. You would have liked to see the Patriots score a touchdown earlier in that game. If you're a Patriots fan, if you're a Patriots bettor, kind of won maybe in spite of themselves. Defensively, obviously they were great. They kept the Chargers to 3 points all game. Sacked Justin Herbert 6 times. I think zero complaints there. But you have to win on both sides of the ball. They weren't really moving it as well as you'd like on the offense. And now you're running into the Texans defense that, probably the weirdest win of Wild Card Weekend, even if it wasn't surprising, but just an absolutely kind of bizarre game where Stroud played pretty terribly, but the defense hung in there, much like the Patriots, Chargers defense rather, held them in that game for the vast majority of it. And then obviously the Texans, 2 defensive touchdowns in the fourth quarter and at least one really long drive offensively. So it's really hard to count out a team that can do that. Even touchdowns aside, they snuffed out the Steelers offense. I think a net like 115 passing yards for the Steelers with their 4 sacks, 63 team rushing yards. They were just completely all over it. They could not get anything going. If not for Boswell, that might have been a shutout. So, I don't know. It's probably one that I'm least aligned with, I think, here with the model in its early predictions. I don't love the over. It was 41 earlier, so now you get 40.5, which obviously is just slightly better. But is another game I could see a really run-heavy approach. Over 300 total rushing yards for these two teams in the wild card round, and that worked for them like to an extent. I mean, if CJ Stroud was doing better with the ball, I think we were going to see a lot heavier of a passing game from them. But I mean, if the Patriots can replicate what they did to the Chargers, and Nico Collins' status up in the air with concussion protocol, this might be like just a pure run game attack for the Texans, which obviously is more likely to lean towards the under in that situation. Patriots really heavy, not heavy money line favorite, but 62.5% with a very, very slim edge, basically fair odds here. Not unlike what we saw with the Texans last week, but they are on the 3-point spread as well. Not my favorite matchup, but probably my least favorite of these, to be honest.
Yeah, I don't have a pulse here whatsoever. I need a couple more days to dig deeper into this. This is probably a prop game for me, if anything. Look, I like both of these teams. I also can't really wrap my brain around either of these teams playing for a Super Bowl appearance just yet. This feels ahead of schedule for New England. I think they're good. I think they probably should win this game. At the same time, at least we've seen CJ Stroud and the Texans in the playoffs before. And, they did ultimately stomp Pittsburgh. I think a big part of that game was just how incompetent Pittsburgh is and the drama going on with Tomlin, who's now departed as head coach, and quite frankly, the state that Aaron Rodgers was in. So I don't know. You never want to overreact to last week. I thought Drake May was incredibly iffy. If he gets the jitters calmed down, then I think the Pats should win. But for me, I'm probably going to try and find some prop value in this game. Maybe Ramondre Stevenson centric.
Oh, yeah. He's doing work lately. His receiving line is consistently set way too low. I really wish I hammered him in that game. Was on a little bit of the Saquon receiving, as I talked about. Didn't have any luck with James Cook in the previous game before that. But, Ramondre has just been so great. His line was like 14.5 in that, and I think he's hit it. He had hit it in like 5 straight going into that game, and he put in 75 receiving yards. Guy's amazing. 40 rushing, 23 receiving this week. Curious what his line is, but I'll definitely be looking at him as we get closer as well.
Yep. Beast mode. All right, to my favorite game of the week. It is Rams and Bears in Chicago. I will give you the Midwesterner preview of this. We got to see what the weather report will be here. You saw a snow bowl against Green Bay, and I think that did have an effect a little bit down the stretch in terms of a Green Bay offense that was firing on all cylinders for 30 minutes that fell apart late. This is Los Angeles, a team that plays indoors. Matthew Stafford, who used to play in Detroit, indoors. I'm not saying to bet against him in cold weather, but the colder this game is, the more likely I think Chicago has a chance here. Our model probably should not be surprising you at this point. If you've listened to the show for 3 months, the Dimers model has been all over Chicago trying to tell us about this team of destiny from the jump. And I don't know, I might be listening again this week, Dave.
Yeah, I mean, I personally could not be more aligned with the model than we see here. Almost a little surprised. Sometimes I feel like my gut is, I mean, I'm not the Dimers model, so I will have different feelings towards things. And one that I'm just like, oh, this is the side I'm on. Not always the case. And I'm like, all right, let me do my research and check in and see if there's something the model is picking up on that I'm not. Here, I could not be more aligned, and I love it. I mean, we get an edge on the spread and the money line. Fair value on the total. Look, the Rams have so much upside. They are both of our Super Bowl pick leading into the playoffs, even during the regular season. And it may carry them to a Super Bowl win. But we have seen enough, I think, especially down the stretch, to be concerned about their ability to keep opponents at bay. They needed a game-winning touchdown drive to put the Panthers away. I mean, they were plus money to win late in that game against the Panthers, who probably shouldn't be a surprise that they covered that 10.5-point spread. They've shown a lot more heart than I think even we were willing to give them credit for. We said that was going to be a stomping, and it kind of looked like it early, and then they just let them back into it. And that is a real problem against a team like the Bears, who have made a career this season out of getting back into games and not letting you put them away. They engineered another incredible fourth quarter comeback, exactly like we talked about on the show last week. And this is the type of team that has been letting other teams do that, or at least hang in late. You're getting home underdogs. This total, I believe, opened at 51.5. So you're getting a way better number for the over. It was even 49.5 this morning. Looks like you can get it 49 on Caesars, maybe even other books. It's really hard for me to get behind the Rams as more than a field goal favorite. I would certainly be thinking a little differently, if we're looking at 2.5 here. But road 4-point favorites against a team that just continues to win late in games. Yeah. And I mean, if there's one play I love, it's the total, because you don't really have to worry about either side. And the Bears should do what we keep seeing them do: give up points, score points. The Rams should not have a problem scoring points in this. It's going to be up to the Bears offensively.
Yeah. Yeah. Like I said, the only thing that would push me off that over at 49.5 is weather. And oddly enough, if you back Chicago either against the spread or to win, I think it almost works as like a little bit of a hedge against the over. If this game doesn't go over 49.5, I'm going to strongly assume it's because Los Angeles doesn't play well in the cold. And if it does go over, I think Chicago still has a good chance to win or cover or do their come from behind trick they've been doing for a month. So, yeah, I see value in the over as well, as long as we're not in a blizzard. And I haven't seen what the report is yet. Obviously, we need to get closer to the weekend to know. Not surprised at all. The model shows value on Chicago at home. At the same time, the Rams are my Super Bowl pick. And I think they are decisively the better team. And I think if Chicago falls behind 3 scores to Los Angeles, this is game, set, match, checkmate, whatever metaphor you want to use for their season coming to an end. I think I'm going to get cute, and I'll elaborate in detail on Thursday in this game. But I think there's some Rams first half, Bears full game potential.
I love that stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, this would be the one, right? Especially the way the Rams kind of like what you saw last week with an inferior offense to the Bears.
Just follow the same script that Chicago's been playing all year. And I don't know. We'll see exactly what the numbers come out to as we get closer to the weekend, but more on Thursday. Like we said, this was just an early look at the divisional round playoff matchups. We will do basically the entire Thursday episode of this show, going extremely in-depth with detailed cards for each of these games. For now, let's turn our attention to college hoops, because it is another loaded Tuesday night slate.
College Corner.
Looking to get back on the right track with College Corner picks. 3 games on Tuesday night. We begin with a pretty critical must-win early in the season for the Louisville Cardinals. They are at home here against Virginia. Now, injury situations for Louisville are what to watch. Michael Brown, their very talented freshman sensation, has been ruled out for this game. Ryan Conwell, their other superstar shooting guard, missed last game. That's why they were struggling with Boston College early. They did ultimately emerge victorious. And now they are rumored to get Conwell back. He's listed at probable tonight. Sources tell me that he is planning to play, barring a surprise late. Now, Louisville's 2-2. This was many teams' favorite to win the ACC. They were projected to be basically hand in hand with Duke all season long. They fall to 2-3 in ACC play with a loss to Virginia. This thing is over. They have to have this game. I think it's a desperation spot against a Virginia team that has been good, but showed some cracks early in the season with a loss to Virginia Tech and a neutral loss to Butler that hasn't aged well. I think as long as Conwell plays in this game and Louisville is able to start hot the same way they started hot against Duke, remember they were up 10 in the first half in that game, I don't think Virginia has the firepower to come back. The model agrees, as this is one of the highest edge plays of the day. Second play tonight is another home team here, and this is just by the book, one of the best teams to bet in college basketball right now, the Nebraska Cornhuskers. I got the quarter zip on. Go Huskers, baby. This team is 16-0, 5-0 in the Big Ten, up to, I believe, 10th in the AP poll right now. This team's awesome. They've got the nation's longest winning streak going back to the end of last year because they won their postseason tournament as well. This team's just really, really loaded. Rank massed inside, Price Sanford outside, veterans everywhere you look. They do not beat themselves. They're undefeated at home. I think rank massed in 2 years at Nebraska is something crazy, like 28-1 outright as a home player when he's active. Now, in steps Oregon, who's really bad. I mean, this Oregon team is 1-4 in the Big Ten. They're 8-8 outright. They're still sort of holding themselves up to the quote-unquote Oregon brand, normally a much better program than this under Dana Altman, but their superstar point guard, Jackson Shellstad's been hurt. He's been in and out of the lineup. He hasn't played in recent games, and I just think this is a treacherous travel spot. Oregon has Michigan this weekend. They've got to go to Lincoln in the middle of the week, sandwiched in between 2 games in Eugene, to take on an undefeated Cornhuskers team that is just way too good for a depleted, injury-ridden team to deal with. Ken Pom likes Nebraska by 13 here. I always just like to check what the college basketball analytics gurus say. I think there's value on the Cornhuskers minus 10.5. And then for our last play of the night, we're sticking with a third home team here. We're going to take Creighton minus 8.5 against Georgetown. Creighton is in a bounce back spot here. They've been pretty good in Big East play, 4-2 so far. But if you remember over the weekend, they got punked by St. John's, gave up 90 points to the Johnnies. St. John's is a very talented team. That's a top 20 team nationally. Georgetown is the furthest thing from that. 109th in the country per Ken Pom right now. 1-4 in the Big East. They've lost 3 straight games. They've been blown out in a couple games this year that made your head turn. You remember that 20-point loss at North Carolina? I think Creighton's a similar caliber team to the Tar Heels, and I think, quite frankly, we rarely see a Greg McDermott team lay an egg twice in a row. So expect Creighton at their best. If they're at their best, this should be a double-digit victory at minimum. It is Louisville, Nebraska, and Creighton tonight. 3 teams at home in interesting spots, either must win or bounce back, or in Nebraska's case, just a team that can't be touched.
All really nice odds too on these spreads, sweet spots and high edges, and even a combination of both on all of them. Really good stuff. We'll say this, you should play these straight, but if you like a little side play, it's plus 780 on FanDuel with their little, they got a 30% parlay boost. I put that in as you were talking about this, Greg. So that'll be my side play of the night.
Love it. Let it fly. cross your fingers and let's win some bets tonight in college hoops, ladies and gentlemen. If you want more college sports picks, please subscribe to the show. Throw a like at us as well. We will notify you every single time a new episode drops. It's typically on Tuesdays and Thursdays. And I've got a lot planned leading up to March Madness as we get closer and closer to the conclusion of the college basketball season. There's other hoops on, though, not just college tonight. We've got the NBA King of the Court back in action. One of our favorite promos on the Dimer Sports Betting podcast. Dave, give people a rundown, and what are we looking at tonight?
Yep, as always, we'll have our top 3 overall projected, and then 2 guys that I'm putting on the what I call the long shot radar. We'll pull them up here, and as should surprise absolutely nobody, Luka Doncic leads the way once again, over 50 PRA, 51.7, only projection over 50. Leads the NBA in scoring, ranks 4th in assists. It's 24th total in the league in rebounds. PRA totals of 58, 57, and 53 in January alone. I don't need to talk about Luka Doncic. He's basically a matchup-proof superstar. Biggest risk with him is typically coming from a potential blowout or an injury rather than poor efficiency or a down game from him. He's listed as a game-time decision. Gets the Hawks, who rank 23rd in points, 26th in rebounds, and 25th in assists. So obviously everything lines up well for him tonight. Again, your only reason to not go with him is if you just don't want to get a short bonus bet, but there's rarely times where Luka's not going to be in the pole position here. And alongside this guy who's next, Giannis, who's projected for 45.8 PRA. They're in a pretty important position. They're sitting outside the play-in right now, kind of slowly chipping away at it. They get a pretty important matchup here with Minnesota, and they're going to need to start stacking these wins together as we reach the back half of the season. He already owns a King of the Court this season. He split tie with Tyrese Maxey. I think it was the second one overall, if anyone remembers that, when we had Maxey in our targets. He's eclipsed 50 PRA 6 more times, despite missing most of December and several other games this year. Just an absolute points, rebounds machine. It's where his upside's usually coming from. Going to be dominant scoring and rebounding nights, really hitting his full ceiling to win this. Probably means he's going to need either something like 40 points and 15 boards, or he's going to need that elevated assist total, closer to a triple-double. Because if he's at like 35 and 12, you're looking at 47, maybe a handful of assists. It just might not be enough. Every single player so far has cleared 50 PRA, winning the crown. That 50 PRA was Trey Murphy just last week, who won like 1.3K as an unexpected winner in a night where both Luka and LeBron were underneath them. So it's really hard to kind of, how should I say this? Bank on the upside for guys who don't quite have 50 PR, like a 50 PRA floor. So if Giannis doesn't hit the assist marks, he probably won't get that unless he absolutely goes nuclear. But we'll say Minnesota ranks 10th defensively on the season versus assists, but bottom 5 in the NBA over the past 7 games. So maybe a little extra opportunity for Giannis there. Rounding out the top 3, Jalen Johnson of the Hawks. He made his superstar case earlier this season. His run in December was like the best numbers of his career. He was averaging 48 PRA per game. Now Trae Young is gone, and he's kind of cooled off a bit in January, not directly related to Trae Young or anything. But he's got just one double-double or better, which is a triple-double, I think in his first game of the year. But seeing a little bit more rounded production from the Hawks over the past 2 weeks, kind of a bit more offensive contributions from Alexander Walker and Zachary Risactor. I can never pronounce his name correctly. And some of the other guys. So while Jalen Johnson's shown like insane upside this year, you just like might not be currently operating at that level of output. Might be a big scoring night for him versus the Lakers. The most points to forwards over their past 7 games. Pretty strongly limiting rebounds, though, which is a pretty key stat for Johnson, hitting 50 PRA or up. Moving to our long shots, Jamal Murray, he's projected for 37.8. He is a game time decision, so his status will be pretty critical to monitor, but pretty massive upside if he is active. He's posted 5 assist-driven double-doubles over the past couple weeks after averaging just 7.1 assists throughout the season. He's seen PRA totals of 52, 49, and 47 in January, so he's been right there. Nikola Jokic is sidelined. Denver's other starters are a little banged up. He could basically run the whole offense. He's got the Pelicans on deck, who have previously given up a king of the court performance. They rank 29th in assists, 28th in points, 24th in boards. So Murray could really have a big game tonight. FanDuel's got the 50-point little jackpot too as well. He'll probably be the guy I look at for that. He does have a 52-point game earlier this season. You never know, especially when you're getting a defensive matchup like this. And I will say, probably not going to be king of the court, but if Jamal Murray sits, Peyton Watson's probably going to have a really good game. I think he's just going to absorb so much volume. He's had some really nice outings lately. Might see a really well-rounded game from him. Could be worth it if you're like looking for an insane upside play. And then we'll close it out with Alperen Şengün. The Rockets projected 37.2. Really favorable matchup against Chicago's soft defense. He's 9th overall on our PRA projections. Highest in this game, just narrowly ahead of Kevin Durant. Only one triple-double this season, but he frequently flirts with that mark with like really high scoring and rebounding numbers, and then often seeing 8 or 9 assists, showing his upside across the board, coming up just shy. He won this last year at least once, I believe, and gets another good matchup, like I said, with the Bulls. They rank 5th in points, 7th in rebounds allowed, both of those marks to centers, and sit in the bottom 5 of the league defensively overall. Sets up Şengün for pretty strong assist potential, also backed by the fact that he is the highest projected center for assists tonight in the Dimers model for 6.0. So even if he's not your king of the court play, I might look at him for 7 assists, 8 assists, 9, 10 assists as just a side play or as the entry play for it. Because then even if he doesn't get king of the court and he hits that, you get some nice plus money assists out of that.
Yeah, I like these king of the court breakdowns that you give because I end up coming away with like 4 different player prop angles that I want to play that night regardless. The Peyton Watson shout out is especially interesting. If Murray sits, he has been so good lately. I feel like he's a guy that's on the verge of stardom in this league. And if I was going to lock one in, I think given that Luka is, the mark we're chasing down, I think you've got to either approach it one of 2 ways. Like you might as well just play Luka and take the small bet, or go super long and hope for a crazy night from out of nowhere. The Şengün matchup feels at least conducive to that possibility. I almost called them the Bears. The Bulls defense doesn't provide any resistance, especially to big men at all. So it wouldn't be stunning if this is like the triple-double night for Alperen.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, that could be the play too. At that point, you probably just play his 10 assists just in case he goes under on rebounds. But yeah.
Right. All right. I love it. Thank you for the research as always. Let's chase down Luka Doncic together, everybody. Why not? The PGA Tour is back. It is the Sony Open first up on the schedule, and Brooks Koepka back to the PGA Tour as well. That was just some headline news leaving Live Golf. I see Bryson DeChambeau is also posting ominous things right now. It feels like us golf fans may be getting some stars back soon, but for now we have the Sony Open to look forward to, Dave. So tell me more.
Yeah, well, it's going to be fun seeing Brooks Koepka back in the tournament predictions on Dimers that are not for a major. I believe he's going to make his debut at the Farmers Insurance Open. I can't remember exactly when that is, but sooner than later. And I mean, the drama around that has just been incredible, to be honest. But until Brooks makes his debut, we'll be looking at everybody else in the field. And yeah, like Greg said, we're starting off the Sony Open in Hawaii. Just quick little background on the tournament and what we're looking at this weekend. It's a 120 player field opening event of the season because they skipped last week's event due to, I believe, droughts in the area where that tournament is held. 4 of the top 10 world-ranked golfers are in this. Russell Henley, former champion, JJ Spawn, Robert McIntyre, Ben Griffin, who's a 3-time winner last year. Defending champion Nick Taylor is back in this, and there are 22 first-time appearances on this. which is going to be pretty important, I think, when you look at the whole field, which we'll get to in a bit. Right now, 61st edition of this tournament, it's the only course it's ever been at. So I'll probably say this multiple times, but familiarity here is pretty paramount. The only rookie to ever win was Russell Henley back in 2013. 3 of the last 4 ended in a playoff. Just lots of benefits to someone who has been here at this course and experienced this course. Even if they haven't had previous success, they will have a major leg up over the players who have not. Par 70, just over 7,000 yards. Greens are pretty big for a par 70 setup, but the rough gets pretty thick at its highest length, 3 inches. So it's pretty heavy penalty for missing the fairways here. You're going to want to favor guys who are good on approach, good putting with the big greens, and driving accuracy, which you probably prefer over raw distance. Could be a little wind in play here. It is in Hawaii. It's set off the shoreline, so it's not like right up against the coast for most of it. But anybody who's a little more accurate than power is probably going to have an additional edge. So accuracy, good putting, and familiarity with this course are probably going to be the things that'll help you find a winning formula. Now I'll pull up our predictions, and we're just going to look at a couple guys who get value from the model. I'll talk through them real quick, and then I have one guy who doesn't have a major edge, but a little bit, and I like him this week as well. All 4 of these plays also get an edge in top 20, and a couple of them for top 5 and top 10 as well. So be sure to look through them. Definitely 1 or 2 ladder play guys in here, which I'll talk about at the very end. But leading things off, Ben Griffin, 11.3% probability. That'd be fair odds of plus 785. We got him at plus 1,400 as our favorite to win the tournament. He's in really great form. Like I said, 3 wins last year. Did not finish worse than T12 in his last 12 made cuts of the season. Just insane stuff. Pretty much only worse than Scotty Scheffler down the stretch. Pretty perfect fit for him here. He's golfed here 3 times. All 12 rounds have been at par or better. Leads this entire field in true total strokes gained over the past half a year. And like I said, a really good course match. If you check him, he is an edge all the way through. He would be the top ladder play alongside the next guy I'm going to talk about, JJ Spawn, who also gets an edge in all 4 placement markets as well. Spawn 7.9%, so he'd be fair at plus 1170. We're getting him at 20-1. Breakout 2025 last year, won the U.S. Open, 2 other runner-ups. This is his 3rd time here. 3rd place finish last year, and he held the lead entering the final round. Solid outing here the year before, T12. Remember, experience matters here. Spawn has really good success here in his 2 tries. Great odds here. 7th in strokes gained total. Really good on approach. 5th overall, 25th in total driving. Really good course fit here. Harry Hall, Englishman, 5.7% to win. That would make him fair at plus 1,650. He is 25-1. Pretty well rested after 2025, but he has not golfed in about 3 months, so it could be a little rust as well. It's his 4th straight appearance here. Was a top 10 finish last season. Best in all 3 tries he has had at this course. Ranked 7th in the field overall, shortly behind Ben Griffin in true strokes gained over the past half year. So really good form for him. Just, again, hasn't played in 3 months, so maybe not going to be fresh off and contending. But if he picks up where he finished last summer, he had only 3 finishes outside the top 20 in the final 10 events he had. His putting upside makes him a pretty dangerous contender here. And then moving to our last value play, Corey Connors gets 4.4%, being compared at plus 2170. He's 35-1. His results here last year were kind of representative of what wasn't his best season overall before he ended much better. He missed the cut at this event, but he's previously finished tied for T12 twice, T11 and T3 in 6 total tries. A lot of placements in a row right there. So he's shown his upside here. It just wasn't his best season last year, and it kind of started off that way. But down the stretch, he ended really well. T4 at the Tour Championship, finished 7th and tied for 5th in some invitational events in December. Pretty solid course fit. 25th overall off the tee, 23rd ranked driving accuracy, 39th in approach. Definitely worth a look, especially at 35-1. And then who I would call my pick, he's still got an edge, just not high enough to hit our threshold for a flame. But Robert McIntyre at plus 2,000, 5.5%. He's our 5th most likely winner, so he still gets a lot of love from the model. Couldn't find a win last year on the tour, but he managed 2 runner-ups, 4 other top 10s. This is his 3rd trip here. Hasn't played very well in the past, 52nd and 53rd place finishes, but he did make the cut both times. His skill set does fit pretty well. 39th in putting, 40th on approach last year, but 14th total overall strokes gained. If you can just kind of put it all together, there's no reason he shouldn't find himself down in the mix. I'm a little surprised to not see him shorter than plus 2,000. And I think we'll see him in that range a lot this year. So why not try and take a shot on him with a little edge early on at 20-1?
I love it. Great outlook as always. Okay, you got my attention with Ben Griffin, and I was looking this up just to sort of refresh my memory coming off the Ryder Cup. I think I'm interested in a Ben Griffin awesome season arc this year, coming off a Ryder Cup where he made the team as basically the last guy on the bench. Really wasn't used. I think he got 1 match before the singles event in the final day. And I don't know. He's on an upward trajectory. We know he's been really good. You gave the numbers for why it makes sense to bet him this week. But just as you're going through it, I'm like, yeah, you know what? Revenge Ben Griffin arc has my full attention.
Yeah, absolutely. And they probably should have used him earlier on in that cup, and maybe it wouldn't have been so close.
Yeah, there's a fair argument for it. So,
yeah.
All right, there you have it. I can't wait to bet some golf this weekend and beyond. It's a good time of year when the PGA Tour is back. Let's close the show, as always, with what else is on Dimers this week.
What's on Dimers this week?
Should be a ton of NFL content coming out from Dimers all week long for the divisional round. You can look for the sweet spot picks in both props and game lines. You saw that icon when we pulled up the college corner bets. Just look for it on the Dimers site. Those are the ones you want to add to your card. Beyond NFL, there's plenty more. Dave, what else do we got?
Yep. Those aforementioned golf predictions will be updating after every round. So if you missed the early value, there's always something live. Even if there's no edge, there's always insights in there for getting round by round betting, matchups and whatnot. Obviously, daily sports, NBA, NHL, college basketball all week. The Natty is next Monday. Maybe we'll have Greg do a little look at that on Thursday if he sees anything that jumps out to him. But otherwise, that prediction is up on site. You can dive into that every day between now and then. You'll find touchdown value, prop value, best bets, all that up in there. And keep an eye out for any divisional content we'll have on site and social. I would expect some more looks at props. I'll try to find a couple ladder plays if there's anything in there. Of course, we'll look at touchdowns and all that, some of which we'll certainly discuss on Thursday's show when we dive deep into each game of the divisional round.
Yep, it will be a very detailed football-centric Thursday episode, and I will touch on the College Football National Championship as well. All right, thank you if you've made it this far. We appreciate you listening. We'll be back on Thursday. Gamble responsibly in the meantime, and we'll see you then.